Mirandhasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sorry, in the previous class we have been discussing about the third chapter, Karma Yoga, and till now we had discussed about what is the law of karma and what are the different karma, like good karma, bad karma, and all these things we discussed. We also discussed about how the Supreme Lord has created a system of sacrifice, right, by which people can do their work and be happy. So we discussed all these things, I think. And the best sacrifice is Sankirtan Yajna. A yajna basically means whatever is done to satisfy the Supreme Lord. So in this age, it is not possible to arrange for big sacrifices, in which there is a lot of money spent. But we can all easily perform the chanting of the holy names, right? Just like we chant together, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And another thing that we can do is, whatever we eat, we should first offer it to God. So when we eat something, because it is all coming from God. So if we don't offer it to God, it is like a thief, right? So we get food grains from God, we get, water from God, air from God, and all these things are not possible to be produced by human efforts, right? Even if all the scientists together they try, they cannot even create any food grain, right? Even a food grain of rice also cannot be produced by scientific means. Yeah, we can convert the grain, like wheat, we can convert into bread, but we cannot create the wheat itself. That is the product of nature, and nature is working under direction of the Supreme Lord. So the great devotees, they eat after offering to God. So cooking for God, or making food for God and offering it to God, is expression of love, and this is called prasadam. When we offer food to God and then we eat it, then it is called prasadam, and it is free from karma. Like anything we eat has got karma. Like suppose you you take 1 kilo of rice from the market, and you cook it and eat it. So you don't know that where that rice is coming from. Maybe someone stole away the rice from the owner, and then he is selling it. So if you take that rice, then you will also get the karma of stealing, right, to some degree. And there are so many other things, like suppose in making that rice, cultivation of that rice, so many animals or insects might have been killed, right? So that all karma is contained when you eat that food. But when we offer it to God and then take the prasadam, then it is free from that karmic reaction. Therefore it is always good that we, whatever we eat, first offer to God. And it is also an act of love, right? When you love someone, we want to feed him with good things. Like Srimati Radharani, she cooks for Krishna, and she is always cooking new items, so never she repeats the same item. So she is having so many dishes to make for Lord Krishna. Similarly, Yasoda Mai, she is cooking so many things for Krishna and thinking that how she can make Krishna happy by feeding all these items. So similarly, just like we offer food to God, right? Similar here, Lord Krishna is saying, you offer this battle to me, right? Oh Arjuna, just like you offer food before eating, so similarly, you offer this battle to me. That means you fight in this battle, but you fight for me and offering for me. So like that. Now, the next thing is, Lord Krishna says that you should set the right example, right? Like suppose you are a Kshatriya and you run away from the battle, then what the people will think? The people will think that, Just see, Arjuna is out of fear, he gave up the battle. So it is not a right example. So if you want to, even if you think that you don't want to fight for yourself, but to set the right example, you should fight, right? Like sometimes, the parents know that, suppose there are two children in the home and one child is very, very intelligent. So the parents know that, even if he does not study, he will do well. But still what they say, that just to inspire your younger child, younger, brother or sister, you should also study with him, isn't it? Even if you know everything, just, be there, sitting, pretending to study, so that he will also study seeing you. So similarly, Lord Krishna is saying that, you set the right example, you fight. Yeah. Yes, Brinda?
I think so.
Can you hear me? Hare Krishna. Am I audible? Everything is fine?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, okay. So I was giving the example of, a child. The parents wants the child to study, and therefore they say that, the other child, like the elder one, like maybe you also study with him, like that. So just like another example we can see is a teacher. When a teacher is teaching the students, what she does, she will also write like this and like this, A, and she will say this is A. So do you think the teacher does not know how to write A? She knows, right? She knows perfectly. But why she is also doing it with the children?
For them to know that is the. So they
Yeah,
can
so
also
that
know that.
they know that everything, but still just to help the children, right? So to teach others also, we have to set the example. And we see even Lord Krishna, you see, Narad Muni once visits the different palaces of Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna has 16,108 wives, and he has 16,108 palaces also, right? And in all those palaces, Lord Krishna is engaged in different activity. Somewhere he is, giving charity to the Brahmanas. Somewhere he is, playing with the kids. Somewhere he is, somewhere he is engaged in marrying his daughters. Like that, he is engaged in different activities in different palaces, right? So although he is the supreme lord, he has nothing to do. Just by his will everything can happen, but still he is setting the right example of being a householder. Similarly, Janak Maharaj, I told you the story that, how he was ruling the kingdom, right? Although he was a very exalted person spiritually, like that. So this is a very important verse in Bhagavad Gita that will recite, right? This is, if anyone wants to become leader, this is very much applicable to such people. Okay, so all of you can also recite, or one of you can recite. This is from 3rd chapter, 21st verse. Yad yad acharati sreshta tad tad evetaro janah sayat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. Okay, who would like to recite this? No? Okay. I'll repeat one line each. Okay, at a time. Yad yad acharati sreshthas
यद् यद् आचरति श्रेष्ठाः
tat tad evetaro janah
तत्तद् एवेतरो जनः
sayat pramanam kurute
सायत् प्रमाणं कुरुते
lokastad anuvartate.
लोकस्तदनुवर्तते.
Yes. So whatever action a great personality does, the same is followed by all the common man. Therefore, it is very essential that those who are in leadership position, right, those who want to lead others, they should set the right example, right? I think I have told you all these stories, right? Okay. I've told you all these stories. Not this, but others. Yeah, so today we are to do this bad desires, right? So yes, we'll do this one last part today. So here, um, yes. So here Arjuna is asking a question to Lord Krishna that, my dear Lord, sometimes it happens that we don't want to do something, but still there is some inner, push that you please do it. All of you have experienced such thing, that we don't want to do something, but still there is some inner pushing that you should do it, you must do it. All of you have experienced, even if you don't want. Yes, all of us have experience. Like suppose all of you say, a child, maybe example can be given of a child goes to a marketplace and sees some toys, right? And the mother says, no, no, please don't take it. But still what he does, he's very adamant, no, I want it, right? Similarly, you go to a street and see that there are so many people selling street food, right? You know that this is not good for your health, you may fall sick after eating that street food, but what the mind says, no, I want it, right? So these are, like the bad desires. Bad desire means our inner enemies. What are our inner enemies? That we'll discuss now. Okay, so yeah, where we were. So these inner enemies are very important to be dealt, right? So Arjuna's question is, why does one do sinful acts, right? So the question is very genuine, that why someone does sinful acts. Like suppose a thief, why he does thievery? Can you answer? Why does he do thievery? Why does a thief do thievery?
To get like all the jewels from others.
Okay, to get jewels and money. But
get
does he
rich.
not know? Does he not know that he will be arrested?
He'll keep it along with himself to sell them to get more money.
Okay,
Sir,
to get
because of
money.
his desire.
Okay, so he want to get money, yeah, ultimately. But do you think he does not know that he will be punished for that if he is caught? Still, why he does so?
Because maybe he will have some need of money.
No, maybe one time he may be in need of money, but you'll see that, people who are thieves, they are not thieves for one time. They are serial thieves. They will do thievery one, then again come out of jail, again they will do thievery, again they will be caught by police, again they will do like that. So why a
Yes.
person does sinful acts again and again? What
So
do you think?
maybe because they have that like also that when we like they want inside they would be wanting to do that again and again.
Yes, that is true. Because when you do anything, bad, then the tendency to do that bad activity gets stored in your mind, right? You want to do it again and again, and that calling comes from you within again and again. That is called, bad desire. That is called technically kama. So Krishna answered that it is bad desire and anger, O Arjuna, that, because of which people again and again do uh, sinful activity as if they are forced to do it, like that. Okay, now different people are differently
We did
covered.
this.
Yeah, so different people are differently covered by these bad desires, some by little amount, some by more amount, that everyone has good and bad intention within him. Have we discussed that? Good dog and bad dog within us, right? Yeah.
Yes,
So
sir.
some people have that to a smaller extent, and some people have to greater extent. So those people, in which it is like a smaller extent, it is compared to fire covered by smoke. You can see here, fire is also visible and smoke is also visible. The smoke is unable to cover the fire completely. So it means that, the good and bad both exist within a person, but the bad is not able to cover him completely. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's bad. Now, if is covered more, then the example is given that of a mirror covered by dust. You can see that mirror is also covered by dust, but again, it is not very great. If you just, put your hand, again, you can see the mirror, like, like that. So some people are also covered by bad thing, but as soon as they get trained, they get to know about spiritual knowledge, they come to know about what is right, what is wrong, they'll give up that bad nature. So that is like compared to mirror covered by dust. And another example is when a person is completely covered by bad things, just like suppose someone is a criminal, right? It is very, very difficult to, um, make him a good person again. So the example is given of embryo covered by womb. So the child within the embryo is not, covered by womb is not at all visible that the child is there, right? So similarly, all people have got good and bad desires, but they're different degrees, right? Someone is just little bit bad, then someone is very bad, like that. So what are these bad things which are within us, within our heart, within our mind? So these are 6 in number, right? All of you can remember that. You can relate to some of them. As you grow up, you can relate to more of them. So greed, just like greed, just see this child, he's having this gift on his birthday, and the child who's sitting beside, he's thinking, why he's having, why I am not having, right? So he's envying him, right? And this person, he is having greed, oh, I am having this, I should have more, right? So when you have something and you want more, that is called greed, right? You're not satisfied with what you have. And when you want what others have, or when you want that others should not have something, that is called envy, right? So greed and envy, these are the two things which are bad. Now another is jealousy, right? You can see here the two children, one is having a small ice cream and another one is having a big ice cream, and he is not satisfied with the ice cream he has, but he is thinking why she is having such a big ice cream, so he's jealous, right? Now another bad quality within us is unsatisfaction, right? When we are unsatisfied, what we want to do, we want to take something by force, even if it does not belong to us. That is called stealing, right? So here you can see this child, he's unsatisfied with the pocket money he gets, and he thinks that how I can get quick money. So he's trying to steal his grandma's spare money, right? Change. So then another, so now you may think, so there are 6 in number. I'll just tell you all of you. That is Kama, Krodh, Mad, Moh, Matsar. Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsar. Yeah, this 6. Kama means lust, Krodha means anger, and illusion, envy. Then Kam, Krodh, Lobh, greed. Yeah, Mad means intoxication, and Matsar means envy. So these are bad things within us. Now all of us have these bad desires, but where are they located? So our whole, body and mind, everything is compared to this analogy. Have you ever heard about this analogy? The 5 chariots and everything? No? Okay. So it may be difficult. So I'll explain you, then you'll be able to understand what this is. Let me just see what all things are remaining to be done. Not much. So I'll explain you in detail. So see here, what happens? Okay, all of you know that we are all not body, but spirit, soul. All of you know that? Okay. Now, so the body, so now I'll just show you what is spirit, soul here. This is the spirit soul. You can see here, Atman, right here. This is the spirit soul. Let me draw with some other color. This is the Atman, the spirit soul. Now he is like sitting on the chariot. This chariot is driven by 5 horses, and the horses are, driven by a person through the rope. Now, what are these 5? So first of all, Atman is VR, right? Where we are seated on this body. This body is compared to a chariot. Now, this chariot driver is whom? The chariot driver is the intelligence, because it is intelligence which actually takes us to different places. Like suppose sometimes your mind say, let me go to cinema, right? And then your intelligence may say, no, mother will be unhappy, I cannot go without taking permission from my mother. So who is driving you? Your intelligence. Your intelligence decides where to go, where not to go. Sometimes your intelligence may say, let me cheat in the exam. And then what the intelligence says? No, I have never cheated in my life, I will not cheat. So therefore, whatever you do, it depends on whom? The intelligence. So therefore, intelligence is the driver, right? Now, how do you do, or how do you go here and there? With your senses. Whatever activity we do is with the senses, right? So these are like inner things, mind, intelligence. But what is outside? Our senses, eye, then ear, nose, tongue, skin, So all these senses are compared to horses. right? And they will do only something if they are driven by mind, right? Because the mind desires something and then the senses act, and above it is intelligence. So I'll give an example to clear everything. Now suppose the mind says, suppose there is a student, like all of you may be 10 years old or say 12 years old, something, right? So people of this age or maybe little elder, now when you go to class 7, 8, 9, 10, generally at class 10 people get into bad association, right? And then some of your friends may say, let us smoke cigarette, it is cool to smoke cigarette. Not girls, don't know, but maybe boys. So so then they say that, let us smoke cigarette. Now mind will be thinking, should I smoke cigarette? And he will think, oh, I have seen in movies they appear so cool by smoking cigarette. So let me also do it. So now the thought is in the mind, right? And then you go to a shop, right? Because the mind is saying, let us go and buy one, right? So your mind is driving you to go to a shop. Now you go to a shop and then you are just about to purchase, right? But then intelligence says, no, if my father comes to know, he'll be very, very angry, right? And then you stop, right? And then, so let us just analyze this situation. So how we are doing everything? First, the mind has got so many desires stored within, and he's dictating to all the senses. You go here, you taste this, right? He's telling to the tongue, you please taste this. He's telling to the hand, please touch this, please, give me this, like that. The nose is saying, smell this. To ear, it is saying that is, hear this. You see this, like that. He's dictating to all the senses. But above the mind and the senses is who? The intelligence. The intelligence is, like the driver who has to decide right or wrong, right? If the intelligence is poor, then what will happen? The mind will overpower us, and then we'll be, just do some bad things. But if intelligence is very sharp, how does intelligence become sharp? By hearing right and wrong, right? By hearing about what is good, what is bad, by reading books like Bhagavad Gita, which tell us what is dharma, what is adharma. So when we have developed that higher intelligence by associating with, that higher knowledge, then what happens? We can control our mind demands. Mind is always demanding, something to eat, something to drink, something to smell, something to smoke, like that. But you have to develop that higher intelligence by which you can say no to these things, like that. So this is the analogy of body, mind, and this thing. So this analogy, you can also see that, intelligence is using the mind. So mind is the rope, right? If you tighten the rope, what will happen? The horses cannot go freely, right? So if the intelligence is strong, then what will happen? It will tighten the mind. You don't go here and there. Just keep quiet. Just let me do my studies or something. So like that, if the intelligence is strong, it can pull the mind and stop it from doing any bad activities, like that. So this is how it is. So how we have to execute this plan? So first of all, we have to, regulate our senses. Regulating the senses means what? Regulating the senses means that we should do everything in discipline, right? Like suppose you wake up on time, you sleep on time, you eat your lunch, breakfast, dinner in some time, and then what happens? The senses know that, what I have to do at what time, right? When you allow the senses to do anything at any time, what happens? They become completely unruly, right? And then it is very, very difficult to, say no to the demands of the mind. So to keep the mind focused, we have to regulate the senses. How many of you have heard that story of a dog? The dog was given, I heard this in my childhood, that there was one experiment done that a man, what he would do, he would ring a bell, and whenever he would ring the bell, he would give food to the dog, right? Have you heard that? Then whenever he used to do that, for long time. He used to ring the bell, and as soon as the dog would come running, he would give the food to the dog. And then what happens after a long time, maybe a month or so, he again rang the bell, but this time he gave no food. But still what happens? The dog comes and he starts, saliva comes out of his mouth, indicating that he is thinking that the food will come, right? So what do we learn from this is, similarly, our mind can also become accustomed to some habit if we regulate it, right? Suppose you always give good things to mind, right? Then the mind become regulated. Like if you give him good food, not any junk food, you give him good things to hear, you read good books, then what happens? Automatically these bad things don't agitate us. So the nature of the bad impressions is that it is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. They are like in the beginning nectar, but in the end poison, right? Like children of your age, right? It appears that, if I do this bad thing, I'll be so happy, right? So generally this stimulus is like that, and children get swayed away by that. There's so many temptation in your age. Like, there's some boys who are playing say some video game, or they are seeing something, or they are gambling, or they are smoking. So sometimes it appear, oh, it is so nice, if I do also, I'll be so happy. But the nature of this happiness is, this is called, third class enjoyment, crow like enjoyment. So the crow like enjoyment, what happens? In the beginning it appears that, I'm enjoying so much, but the end result is frustration, the end result is illusion, and it brings you so much of misery. That is why we see that, people who engage in smoking, drinking, and all such bad things, what happens? They don't become happy, rather they, become suicidal. Many times they commit suicide, even if they are from very rich families, because they engage in these bad things. Because ultimately what happens? It agitates our mind. The bad things agitate our mind. The principle is garbage in, garbage out, good in, good out. So when you put good thing inside your mind, like you hear good music, you see the deities of the Lord, then our mind become calm, cool, right? On the other hand, if you put all the garbage thing inside your mind, garbage music, garbage songs, then what happens? Our mind become very, very disturbed, like that. So we have to regulate the senses by giving good inputs into our mind. And the best is when we, engage in devotional service, when we engage in like chanting Hare Krishna, seeing the deity form of the Lord, right? There's so many temples of Lord Krishna in India. We can visit them, we can see the deity of the Lord. And these things actually give a lot of satisfaction to the eyes, to the mind, to the heart, right? To the soul. And we become completely controlled, right? Because all the senses want some happiness, right? Eyes want to see something beautiful, ears want to hear something beautiful, right? Nose want to smell something good, right? And similarly all the organs. But when we do these activities in relation to God, like we can go to the temple, we can see the very beautiful form of Lord Krishna, right? I'll just show you a beautiful form of Lord Krishna, which I generally see. So this pictures of Lord Krishna, this is the deity of Lord Krishna in Sri Sri Radha Govind temple here at Calcutta, ISKCON Calcutta. So, when we see this beautiful form of Lord Krishna, what happens? Our mind become very, very satisfied, isn't it? So it becomes very happy, right? Similarly, we can go to temple, we can smell the flowers which are offered at the lotus feet of Lord. We can hear the kirtans, right? Like the chanting of the holy names, or we can ourselves chant when we get time. So these activities are very much conducive to controlling our senses and regulating our senses. We get a higher enjoyment, spiritual enjoyment. And by that, we can give up the low enjoyment, right? The low class enjoyment that generally people get used to. So like that, right? Yeah. So these are the things we discussed. The bad desires and how we can conquer those bad desires is by getting a higher enjoyment. The bad desires, what they want us to do, they give us a promise that you'll enjoy, right? Just like you see this child, why he's jealous? He's thinking that she's enjoying more, right? She's enjoying more than me. So if I can have that, I'll be more happy, right? But when you get spiritual enjoyment by serving God, by seeing the form of the Lord, what happens? You become so happy inside that you don't want happiness from this, material things. You are happy inside, right? Similarly, you see this boy, why he's envious? Why is he envious? Because he's thinking that I'll become happy if I also have all these different gifts, right? Like that. But suppose this child is very happy in spiritual enjoyment, seeing the form of the Lord, chanting the names of God. Do you think he will feel envious like that? No, he will just be happy in that spiritual happiness, like that. Let us see another examples. So yeah, this one, just see this boy. Why is stealing? Because he's thinking that the money I will get, I'll buy something and it will make me happy, right? But he does not know that, it is experience of everyone that we want something, we get it, but still we don't become happy, isn't it? Do you think that suppose he steals the money and gets something for himself, do you think he'll become happy? Or he'll repeat the stealing again? What do you think? What is the expected result?
Sir, I think he will repeat it.
Yeah, he'll repeat it. Why do you think? What is the reason behind it?
Sir, he will still not be happy with it.
Yes, because this habit of stealing will remain and he will not be satisfied, right? He'll want to do it more, right? Because that did not give him enjoyment, real satisfaction, like that. So real satisfaction is the real satisfaction for the soul, because all of us are souls, right? Spirit soul is part and parcel of God. When the spirit soul comes in contact with God, it feels real happiness. But when we want to get happiness just by getting something material, it does not last long, right? Like suppose I think that I'll get happy by eating a chocolate. How long that enjoyment will be, do you think? For few minutes, isn't it? Suppose you think that I will eat this chocolate and be happy. How long you can eat that? Maybe few minutes. After that it will be over, isn't it? But suppose one gets spiritual enjoyment in chanting the names of God, in seeing the form of Lord, then what will happen? That can be done without any cessation. There's no stoppage. Like one can just close his eyes and see the beautiful form of the Lord, right? And he will feel that spiritual happiness. So for that he does not have to get any material thing, like that, right? So like that. Okay. So these are the things that we discussed. Are there any question that you want to ask about whatever we discussed? So we'll do that. Else I'll tell you a story maybe toward the conclusion. Yeah, this was the one point that yeah, this point also we'll discuss. I'll tell you this story, okay? So this story tells that how we should be satisfied, right? We should be happy in whatever situation God puts us, and we should perform devotion to God in that situation, right? God is not for rich or poor. He's simply happy by devotional service. If someone is a devotee of God, he's simply happy by that. He's not happy if someone is a rich man or a poor man. He's happy by devotion. So the story goes like this, that once upon a time there were two people, right? One was a cobbler and one was a brahmana. So in Vedic times, brahmana is very much respected because he gives knowledge of God to others, and he is propagating the knowledge of God, all these things. So what happens, that just a minute, I'll put it on charge. Yes. So Narad Muni is a devotee of Lord, and he's always traveling throughout the whole universe, and he's chanting the names of Lord Narayana. So what happens? He's traveling and he sees these two devotees. One is a cobbler, and he's a cobbler, but he's chanting the names of God. He's doing his all the duties, and he's happy. And there is another person who is a Brahmana. He's a Brahmana, uh, but he's not a very good devotee, right? He is a official devotee. He does not have faith in God. So then Narad Muni visits both of them, and he sees that Brahmana is always engaged in, different reading different books about God, Vedas, and he's reciting some mantras and like that. And it appears that he is very much, devoted to God. And other side, this cobbler is a simple person. He does his job of whatever cobbler does, repairing the shoes and chappals, whatever. And also he is always thinking about God by singing bhajans like that. So Narad Muni is little confused that, I think the Brahmana, he is so much engaged in these activities of God, so he may go back to God easily. But for this, cobbler, he's doing all these activities of repairing the shoes and everything. I'm not sure what is his destination. So he goes to Lord Narayana and he says that, my dear Lord, I met across these two people who seem to be your devotees. So I just want to know about both of them. What do you think about both of them? So Lord Narayana said, well, this cobbler is very, very dear to me. This cobbler is very, very dear to me, and he will come back to me just after this life. And so Narad Muni was very much astonished. How is it possible that he's a cobbler? He is not doing any worship. He is not getting time to, he's not also learned to read the Vedas. But how is it possible that he will come back to you in this lifetime only? So, and what about that Brahmana who is always engaged in, reading Vedas and, chanting the mantras? So what about him? So Narad Muni say, I don't know. He will take long time to come back to me. So then Narad Muni say, oh, I cannot understand this. So Narayana says, okay, don't worry. When you go back to earth and they ask you that what Lord Narayana was doing in Vaikuntha, so just tell them that I was passing a elephant through the eye of the needle. Eye of a needle? How big is eye of needle? Very small. You have to pass a thread. But just say that Lord Narayana is passing elephant through the eye of a needle. So Narad Muni goes and puzzled about what this is. He goes to both of them and he goes to Brahmana. Brahmana says, oh, welcome Narad Muni, you have come to my place. I'm very, fortunate that you have come here. And you are always going to Vaikuntha to see Lord Narayana. You are always chanting his name. Can you please tell me what is Lord Narayana doing there? What he was doing there? So, no, he asked like this. He asked that, when you meet, when you meet Lord Narayana, please ask him when I will come back, right? So when Narad Muni goes this time, he says that, I asked Lord Narayana, he said that you will take many lifetime to come to him. So then this Brahmana become very angry. Oh, you are simply a cheater. You never went to Vaikuntha, right? I'm doing so many austerities. I'm learning so many Vedas. I'm always chanting the names of, so many mantras. And do you think that I will not be able to go back to Vaikuntha in this life? You have never gone to Vaikuntha. I know. If you have gone to Vaikuntha, tell me what Lord Narayana was doing there. And then Narad Muni says, Lord Narayana was passing an elephant through the eye of the needle. And he said, now just see, now it is proved. Lord Narayana has nothing to do that he will pass how can he pass elephant through the eye of a needle? So like that, he very much criticized Narad Muni. And so the point is that Narad Muni understood, although he's appearing to be always engaged in, so many sort of religious activity, but he has no faith in God. Although he's performing all these activities, but without faith in God. And because he has no faith in God, he will not be able to go back to God in many lives, right? It will take him long time to go to God. So then he goes to this cobbler, and cobbler also welcomes Narad Muni very nicely. He gives him a seat, whatever he can afford, and he says that, my dear Narad Muni, it is very great that you have come to my place. Please tell me how I can serve you. So Narad Muni says that, I have come from Vaikuntha, and do you know what Lord Narayana was doing there? So what he was doing, my Lord? Said, Lord Narayana was passing elephant through the eye of a needle. Oh, is it? He was passing elephant through the eye of a needle. How great my Lord is, right? How great is my Lord? So then Narad Muni become confused. How do you believe that, right? So how do you believe that Lord can pass elephant to the eye of a needle? Then he said, oh, what is great difficulty for God to do that, right? It is not at all difficult for God to do that. Just see, the example is here only. I am sitting under this banyan tree. All of you have seen a banyan tree? Okay. So banyan tree, all of you know, na? It has got, very big, vast expansion, right? Maybe I'll show you so that it will be easy to understand.
Sir, we know.
All of you know, na? And how many of you have seen the seed of a banyan tree? Seed?
I saw, sir.
You have also seen seed. How big is the seed? How big? Just this big.
Sir, it was like, it was so
Sir, it was
small,
very
sir.
small.
It was,
Very small, isn't it? So, and how
Yes,
big
sir.
is the banyan tree?
yes, sir. I didn't understand how such a small seed came into such a big banyan tree.
Yes, that is the question that is, just see. This is banyan tree, such big trees, such expansive trees. And yeah, this is, like banyan trees are like this, such big expansion. And what is the size of the seed? The seed is very small, yeah, like this. Just see. Now, so this cobbler, he's very intelligent. So he's not confused that, why God would be doing like that. He says, why it is impossible for God to, pass elephant to the eye of a needle? God has actually created and put the whole big banyan tree inside a small seed, isn't it? So is it impossible for God to pass elephant to the eye of a needle? What do you think? If God can do this, he can put such a big tree inside a small seed. Why cannot he pass elephant through the eye of a needle? So Narad Muni understood. Although he appears to be illiterate, this boy, this cobbler appears to be very illiterate and not knowing, but he is having faith in God, right? He has complete faith in words of God, and therefore he's very dear to God, right? And therefore he will go back to God in this life only. So we should not simply think that, someone is, greater or smaller based on their occupations or their positions. If anyone becomes a devotee of God and develops faith in him, he becomes very dear to God, whatever he may be, right? Although Brahmana is considered to be greater than others, according to, Vedic Varnashram, but if one becomes a devotee, he becomes greater than even Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, all these four. He becomes superior to all of them. So why we are discussing this is because, sometimes we may get this inferiority or superiority complex. What does that mean? Sometimes, when we see others, they are doing good at something, we think, oh, I am not able to do that, right? Just like Arjuna, he's thinking that, I am a Kshatriya, I have to kill so many people. Let me become a Brahmana. Brahmana just, accept charity. He does not kill others. He is non-violent. So let me become a Kshatriya, Brahmana. So here, therefore, Lord Krishna is saying, no, you should be just whatever you are, right? You are born as a Kshatriya. You just do your duty as a Kshatriya. If you offer that work to God, it will become even greater than Brahmana. So just like you see here, there is a monkey and there's a fish. Now the fish may get an inferiority complex that, I'm not able to climb the tree. isn't it? So should he compare himself with the monkey? What do you think? Should he compare with the monkey that, I cannot climb the tree like the monkey? No, he should be happy being a fish, right? Similarly, suppose the monkey thinks, oh, how good it would be if I can become a fish and swim in water. He will also feel, like that. So we should know that all of us have got different abilities, right? And all of us have unique abilities. So we should not think others to be lesser than us, or think ourselves to be greater than others, or less, like that. We should just, whatever abilities God has given us, we should be happy with that and use that ability in God's service. If one is a good painter, he can paint pictures about God. If one is a good singer, he can compose songs for God, right? Like that, whatever abilities we have got, when we engage that in God's service, then that becomes a offering to God, and then we become like that cobbler. Anything we do it for God, like that. Have I shown you the uh, singing of George Harrison? I have shown you one time how he was.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
My little large.
yeah. So I'm getting a call, just minute. I'll be ending soon. Okay, sorry. So now we'll conclude for today. We'll just chant for 3-4 minutes, whatever we have. And I'll also recommend that all of you can also develop this habit. We have completed 3 chapters. We'll have a test maybe next time. I'll give you some study material. You can go through it. And yeah, so what I'm saying, that you should also develop some good habits, right? Like chanting the names of God every day, having some pictures of Lord, and offering whatever you can, like flowers or whatever, every day. So these habits will create, good impressions that can help us fight the bad within us, like that. Yeah. So let us begin chanting the names of God. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hare
Sir, your hand. Sir, your hand.
Sir, we are not able to hear you.
Sir, we are not able to hear you. देखिए मत करो ना आवाज
Okay, due to connection, it was lost. So we'll conclude for today. Thank you very much